Usually, reading a psychological thriller is, it's a lot like being securely strapped into a roller coaster.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Like you're locked into this little car, the safety bar is pulled down tight over your lap, and the machinery just starts dragging you up that massive clanking initial incline.
Yeah, that slow buildup of dread.
Exactly. And you can see the drop coming. You can scream. You can close your eyes, grip the safety bar until your knuckles turn white. But the one thing you absolutely cannot do is steer.
Right. You're just along for the ride.
Yeah. You have zero control over where that track goes. You are completely at the mercy of the designer's twisted architecture. And I mean, it is terrifying, sure, but in a highly contained, completely safe way.
Because when the car inevitably crashes or, goes off the rails,
Yeah.
you are ultimately not responsible for the carnage.
Exactly. You didn't drive it off the cliff.
Right. And that passive consumption is really the bedrock of the entire thriller genre. I mean, we pay to be victims of a controlled simulation.
Yeah, simulate.
We want the adrenaline spike of the drop without the legal or moral liability of actually driving the car off the cliff, right?
Yeah.
We get to project our anxieties onto a fictional proxy.
The protagonist.
Exactly. A protagonist who makes all the terrifying choices while we just sit safely in the dark judging them.
Which is exactly what makes the premise of the source material for today's deep dive so viscerally upsetting. We are looking at Freida McFadden's interactive thriller, The Dinner Party, a pick-your-poison adventure.
A fantastic, truly unsettling text.
It really is. So, listener, imagine being halfway up that roller coaster incline we were just talking about, right? You're anticipating the drop, the tension is peaking, and suddenly the designer just rips out the tracks.
Just completely removes the safety net.
Yes, they turn off the lights, drop a steering wheel into your lap in the pitch black, and whisper, okay, you drive.
Which is such a brilliant way to phrase it.
Thanks. So today, our mission for this deep dive is exploring the psychological fallout of what happens when an author weaponizes a reader's own agency against them.
Yeah, it's about looking at how the narrative completely transforms when it stops being a story you're observing and becomes a psychological mirror reflecting your own survival instincts right back at you.
Right. And, branching narratives have been around for a long time.
Oh, decades. Choose your own adventure books are not a new concept.
Right. So the genius of McFadden's approach isn't really the interactive element itself, is it?
No, not at all. The brilliance lies in the brutal shift in accountability.
Accountability. Yeah.
By forcing you, the listener, to become the active participant, the fundamental contract between author and reader is just broken.
Shattered, really.
You are no longer granted the immunity of the spectator. You are the architect of your own nightmare now, which means, well, every consequence, every gruesome misstep is entirely your fault.
It's all on you. And to really grasp why handing the reader the steering wheel induces such a specific flavor of dread, we have to look at the environment McFadden builds to house this whole experiment.
The setting is crucial here.
It is, because when you hear the phrase interactive thriller, the brain immediately jumps to high-stakes action.
Right, diffusing a bomb.
Exactly. You picture yourself diffusing a bomb with a ticking timer, or navigating a labyrinthine basement while a serial killer hunts you. But McFadden deploys the deceptive safety of the ordinary.
The ordinary is so much more terrifying when done right.
It is. You aren't dropped into a war zone. You are invited to a dinner party.
Just a dinner party.
Right. There are no explosions. There is no dramatic, bloody cold open to hook you. You just walk into a brightly lit dining room.
And what's fascinating here is that McFadden is exploiting the concept of cognitive dissonance through environmental baseline.
Environmental baseline. Break that down for us.
Yeah. So if an author drops you into a haunted asylum, your threat response is immediately validated by your surroundings, right?
Yeah, you see blood on the walls, you feel scared.
Exactly. The environment matches your internal tension. Your brain says, I should be terrified. And the blood on the walls confirms, yes, you absolutely should.
Makes sense.
But a polite, elegant dinner party generates tension from a much more insidious place. It relies on the silent, the invisible gap between a host's welcoming smile and their hidden motives.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's the sheer discomfort of looking at a perfectly roasted chicken, a table set with crystal glasses, and knowing in your gut that something is fundamentally wrong, even without a single shred of empirical evidence.
That invisible tension is so hard to write, but she nails it.
She really does. And if you look at McFadden's entire back catalog-like books like The Housemaid and Never Lie, it proves she thrives on writing twists that function as literal traps.
She doesn't play it safe.
No, never. So when she presents a completely normal dining room, that normalcy is actually the loudest alarm bell she could possibly ring.
Well, we have been culturally conditioned to suppress our paranoia in social settings, right?
Like just being polite.
Exactly. Etiquette is essentially a dampener on our survival instincts.
I love that phrase, a dampener on our survival instincts.
It's true. I mean, if someone smiles at you across a dinner table, the social contract demands you smile back. If they pour you a glass of wine and their thumb lingers a little too close to the rim,
You don't accuse them of poisoning you.
right. Social politeness dictates you don't scream, you just say thank you and take the glass.
Oh, man.
McFadden weaponizes that exact conditioning. The horror isn't a monster hiding in the closet. The horror is your own brain telling you that you were in a trap, while your social conditioning forces you to sit quietly and eat your salad.
But, okay, let me push back on that structure for a second. Let me challenge that.
Sure, go ahead.
If nothing is actually exploding and nobody is, like, pulling out a weapon in chapter 1, maintaining that tension seems incredibly difficult.
It is a massive writer's challenge, yes.
Right, because if the stakes are just invisible vibes at a dinner party, how does she keep the reader from putting the book down out of sheer boredom before she even gets to the first big twist?
Well, that relies on a masterful understanding of internalized tension. As the source text points out, she doesn't have to write an explosion because she is outsourcing the heavy lifting to your own inherent social anxieties.
Outsourcing the tension to the reader.
Yes. McFadden provides the ambiguous cues like a conversation that pauses for a fraction of a second too long,
All right.
or a fleeting glance shared between two guests. A host who is just slightly too insistent that you try the appetizers. She provides the canvas, but your own hyper-tuned radar for social awkwardness paints the monster.
I see. So instead of observing the tension on the page, I am actually generating it in my own head.
Precisely.
I am scanning the text the exact same way I would scan a room if I walked into a party and everyone suddenly went dead silent.
Yes, that hypervigilance.
I'm projecting my own insecurities and suspicions onto these fictional characters.
You become hypervigilant. In a traditional thriller, the author dictates the pacing of the threat. Here, your own paranoia dictates the threat level. Every polite exchange becomes a potential interrogation. Every closed door becomes a sealed vault of secrets. Because the environment is so mundane, your brain frantically searches for anomalies, making you far more engaged than if you were just, reading about a car chase.
Which naturally drags us into the next layer of this psychological trap.
The complicity.
Yeah, the mechanics of complicity.
Mhm.
Because feeling that creeping social anxiety is one thing, but being forced to act on it is an entirely different beast.
It's the core of the format.
Exactly. McFadden isn't just letting you sit in that anxiety, she is forcing you to make interpersonal, highly subjective choices based on it.
We are really looking at a radical evolution of the branching narrative here.
Yeah, it's not just turn to page 40 to open the door.
No, the choices here aren't logistical at all. You aren't deciding whether to take the left hallway or the right hallway. You're making deeply emotional, psychological wagers.
Emotional wagers.
Yes. The story halts, and you must decide. Do you trust the person sitting next to you?
Right. Or do you confront the host about that strange comment they made? Or do you swallow your suspicion and just stay silent?
Do you make an excuse and try to leave, risking offending everyone? Or do you stay and risk your life?
And the accountability shift here is just staggering.
Mm-hmm.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of how we normally consume media,
Oh, it changes everything.
it really does. The defining characteristic of watching a horror movie or reading a thriller is the feeling of absolute superiority over the protagonist.
Oh, we love to feel smarter than them.
We do. We sit on our couches, completely safe, yelling at the character for going into the dark basement without a flashlight.
Don't go in there.
Exactly. We mock them for trusting the creepy neighbor. We get all the thrill of the danger, wrapped in this smug satisfaction that we would be so much smarter in their shoes.
We use the fictional proxy as a shield for our own egos.
Yes, exactly.
When the protagonist fails, it's their flaw, or the author's contrived plotting, right? But when you remove that proxy, the psychological safety net vanishes. You are the one making the call.
You decide to trust the creepy neighbor.
And when that path spirals into absolute chaos, which, given McFadden's style, it inevitably will, the sting of that failure is incredibly acute.
Because it's your fault. It is honestly, it's like the ultimate cure for backseat driving in a horror novel.
It really is.
You think you could survive the dinner party? Fine, prove it. Here are the keys. Make the call. And when you inevitably fail, you can't blame the author for writing a stupid character.
No, you have to look in the mirror.
Yeah, you have to realize your own survival instincts are terrible. The regret isn't abstract, it is intensely personal. You own the consequence of the carnage.
And that personal ownership of failure, it drastically alters the pacing of the experience, too. It fundamentally changes the cognitive load placed on the reader.
Let's talk about that pacing, actually, because McFadden has a very specific style.
She does. The source text highlights her signature style, clean, sharp sentences, short chapters, absolutely zero wasted space. That style is precision engineered for this format. Every single page is designed to violently push you forward into the next agonizing decision.
It creates this relentless addiction loop.
Yes, the loop.
Curiosity pushes you forward, which forces a choice,
And that choice triggers an immediate consequence.
which sparks a new wave of curiosity. You are just caught in this cycle of curiosity, choice, consequence, curiosity, over and over again at breakneck speed.
If we examine the mechanics of that cognitive load, it's fascinating. In psychology, we talk about System 1 and System 2 thinking.
Okay, remind us how those work.
Sure. System 2 is your slow, rational, calculating brain. It's the part of you that wants to sit back, analyze the dinner guests' motives, cross-reference their alibis, and chart out a logical path to survival.
The detective brain.
Right. System 1, on the other hand, is your fast, instinctual, emotional brain. By utilizing those short, highly bingeable chapters that end in high-stakes decisions, the narrative structure effectively disables your System 2 thinking.
Because it simply isn't giving you the time or the breathing room to be rational.
Precisely. It is the opposite of a slow burn mystery. The rapid pacing mimics the physiological experience of real-life panic.
Oh, wow.
Your brain feels rushed. You don't have the luxury of time to weigh the pros and cons of confronting the host. You are forced to act on pure instinct, reacting to those subtle social microaggressions with gut decisions.
And as we know, our gut decisions in highly stressful, socially ambiguous situations are often wildly flawed and heavily biased.
Completely biased.
But wait, let me play devil's advocate here for a second, because there is a mechanical reality to this format that seems like it would ruin that tension.
Okay, what's that?
If I make a terrible System 1 instinctual choice and I hit a brutal ending,
A dead end.
right, a dead end, I can just physically flip the pages backward.
Ah, yes.
I can undo my death. I can rewind the book, pick the other option, and keep going. Doesn't that effectively neuter the stakes? Like, if it's basically a video game with infinite extra lives where I know the consequence isn't permanent, why would I feel any real dread?
That is a great question. You would assume the ability to rewind would act as a release valve for the tension.
Yeah, exactly.
In a video game, you often speedrun your failures until you memorize the correct path. But reading is fundamentally different because it relies on your internal narrative voice.
How so?
The tension here doesn't stem from the fear of permanently losing a piece of cardboard and paper, right?
Right, it's just a book.
The tension is generated by the psychological trap of second-guessing your own mind. As the source text notes, readers start asking themselves, what if that's exactly what the author wants me to think?
Oh, so the infinite lives don't bring comfort, they breed paranoia.
They absolutely do. Imagine you're staring at a choice prompt. Option A seems perfectly safe and logical, but immediately your brain pivots.
You start overthinking it.
You think, wait, the author knows I think option A is safe. What if option A is the trap, specifically designed for people trying to play it safe?
Oh, that is devious.
You are no longer just interacting with the story. You are playing a high-stakes chess match against the author's anticipation of your instincts.
You realize the author is weaponizing your own logic against you. She knows exactly how a rational person would try to survive a dinner party, and she has rigged those exact logical pathways with landmines.
Exactly. The ability to flip back doesn't relieve the tension, because every time you flip back, you are admitting that the author outsmarted you.
That stings.
It does. You walk willingly into traps built specifically for your psychological profile. The infinite lives merely prolong the realization that you are being manipulated.
That is deeply unsettling, and it strips away all the structural armor we usually wear when reading.
It leaves you very vulnerable.
So let's look at the underlying architecture of this manipulation. We've talked about the mechanics, the pacing, the looping, the short chapters, but these mechanics are just delivery systems for the thematic dilemmas.
The four pillars.
Yes, the source material breaks this down beautifully. The dinner party setting forces you to navigate four massive psychological pillars, starting with the agonizing concept of trust.
Trust is the currency of any social gathering, but here it is bankrupt from page 1.
Right.
The fundamental dilemma is how to allocate trust when everyone seems slightly off and you are operating with severely limited information.
Think about a real dinner party. You don't get to see someone's internet search history or read their diary before passing the salt.
Thankfully, no.
Right. You have to gauge their threat level based on incredibly shallow data points. How do they hold their wine glass?
Right.
Do they make eye contact when they answer a polite question about their career? Did they laugh a little too hard at a joke that wasn't funny?
You are forced to rely on microexpressions. But McFadden is deliberately feeding you ambiguous data.
Ambiguous data. Give me an example of that.
Well, a character's trembling hand could mean they are a nervous victim, right? Or it could mean they're a terrified killer trying to hold it together.
Right. It could go either way.
Because the text doesn't provide objective truth, you are forced to project your own biases and prejudices onto the characters to fill in the missing information.
That's dangerous.
Very. Your decision to trust someone isn't based on their character. It's based on your own flawed heuristics.
Which instantly triggers the second pillar, consequences.
The ripple effects.
Yeah. Every single projection, every biased decision you make to trust or distrust has a cascading ripple effect. In a standard novel, you watch the author flick the first domino, and you sit back to watch the pattern fall.
Passively.
Passively, yeah. But in this format, you're the one flicking the domino, and you have to watch as it knocks over the entire table, shattering the crystal and ruining the evening.
It is the butterfly effect applied to social etiquette.
I love that.
A seemingly insignificant choice like choosing to politely excuse yourself to the bathroom rather than challenging a rude comment can dramatically alter the survival landscape of the narrative. The consequences are terrifyingly tethered to your own desire to avoid awkwardness.
Which connects directly to the third pillar, the violent clash between perception and reality.
This one is so critical.
It really is. The danger of belief. What you see is rarely the truth, but what you think is true becomes the most dangerous element in the room.
Your belief becomes your ultimate blind spot. If you misinterpret a character's social awkwardness as malicious intent, your perception solidifies into a false reality.
You create your own villain.
Exactly. You begin making defensive choices against a threat that doesn't actually exist, which, ironically, might create the very hostility you were trying to avoid in the first place.
Oh, wow. So you're causing the problem.
Right. You aren't being tricked by complex plot mechanics. You're tricking yourself through your own stubborn commitment to a flawed initial perception.
And all of this culminates in the fourth and easily the most profound pillar of the experience, the grand illusion of control.
This raises an important question, doesn't it?
It really does. This is where the psychological thriller format reaches its zenith. The interactive structure explicitly promises you power. You hold the steering wheel. You pick the path.
But do you really?
That's the question. Because the author is constantly exposing the fragility of that power. It is exactly like a master magician performing a card force.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Think about it. The magician fans out the deck, looks you in the eye, and tells you to pick any card. You feel completely empowered as your hand hovers over the cards.
You have total free will, supposedly.
Right. You make a deliberate, conscious choice to pull the 3 of clubs. You feel totally in charge of that moment. What you don't realize is that the magician designed the shuffle, the patter, the lighting, and the subtle angle of the deck so that your brain would inevitably, predictably, choose exactly the card she wanted you to choose from the very beginning.
That synthesis is spot on. You are operating within an invisible psychological funnel.
An invisible funnel.
Yeah. You feel the wind in your hair, you feel the freedom of the open road, but you are driving exactly where the architect engineered you to go.
You can't escape it.
Recognizing that your quote-unquote free will within the narrative is actually highly predictable and easily manipulated by the author. It's a profoundly humbling experience. You think you are playing the game, but the game is playing you.
That realization alone makes the book impossible to put down. But what's truly fascinating, and the source text points this out, is how this psychological manipulation bleeds out of the book and into the real world after you've finished reading.
The post-reading experience.
Yes. Let's explore the replayability factor and how this transforms into a social thriller experience.
The experience actively resists closure.
It really does.
In traditional literature, reaching the final page provides a sense of finality, right? The arc is complete. Here, reaching an ending merely opens a new psychological loop.
It becomes the never-ending book.
Yeah.
You hit a brutal ending, your character meets a terrible fate, and your immediate reaction is not, wow, what a great story. Your reaction is, wait, is there a better ending? Did I miss something?
If I had just done one thing differently.
Exactly. If I had just trusted the quiet guy by the window instead of the loud guy pouring the drinks, would I have survived? You immediately want to go back and fix your mistakes.
And as the source confirms, McFadden ensures there is always another path. There is always a hidden variable you didn't account for, a subtle clue you ignored. But the true brilliance of this design is how it fundamentally alters the sociology of reading.
Because reading has historically been a solitary, introspective act.
Just you and the book.
Right. It is just you, a comfortable chair, and the text. It's a private communion between the reader and the author.
But this format morphs that private communion into a communal, almost competitive psychological exercise.
Repetitive, yeah.
It capitalizes on a deeply ingrained human need to validate our instincts against our peers. We want to know if our moral compass is calibrated correctly. We want to know if our survival instincts are sharper than our friends.
That's why the source material explicitly recommends this as a book to buy and share with friends, specifically so you can argue about the right decision.
It is the ultimate book club grenade.
It really is. You buy a copy for yourself and you immediately force your friends to read it, not just because you like the prose, but because you want to interrogate their choices.
You want to know how they would survive.
You want to sit across from them and demand, why on earth did you trust the host on page 10? I knew the host was lying the second they opened the door.
By comparing the divergent paths you took, you are essentially comparing your psychological reflexes. It ceases to be a discussion about literary themes and becomes a debate about human nature.
Wow.
It is a diagnostic tool for exposing how your friends process trust, risk, and social pressure.
Right. It's like asking, what did you do when the lights went out? The answer to that question reveals volumes about a person's character.
Volumes.
So to distill this massive exploration down to its core takeaway for you, the listener, the dinner party. A Pick Your Poison adventure is not a thriller you just passively read.
No, it plays with you.
It really does. It uses the most mundane, relatable setup possible, a polite social gathering, and strips away the safety net of the traditional protagonist. It forces you into a high-speed addiction loop of choice and consequence, disables your rational mind, and makes you personally accountable for every piece of disaster that ensues.
Beautifully summarized.
Thank you. And listener, if you are the type of person who devours twist-heavy narratives, if you love short, bingeable sessions, and most importantly, if you are the type of person who sits on the couch yelling at the screen, demanding to know why a character would do something so stupid,
This is your chance to step up to the plate.
yes, this is your invitation to the table. This is where you finally get to test your own theories and find out exactly what you would do when the social contract breaks down.
And as we step away from the dinner table today, there is a lingering philosophical thread worth pulling.
Oh, I'm ready. Lay it on us.
We have spent this entire deep dive dissecting how an author utilizes limited information, the immense weight of subtle social pressures, and the grand illusion of choice to manipulate your decisions within a fictional environment.
Right.
It forces a rather uncomfortable reflection. When you look back at the major, life-altering choices you've navigated in your own reality recently,
Oh, wow.
how certain are you that you are the one actually holding the pen? How sure are you that you are writing your own story and not simply walking down a beautifully disguised path that someone else expertly laid out for you?
That is a terrifying thought to leave on. Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the information and the environment around you. Interrogate your own instincts. And if you do decide to grab that steering wheel in the dark, yeah, just remember the tracks might be gone, but the drop is still waiting for you. See you next time.